Countless attempts have been made to extract dyes from brightly colored plants and flowers, yet only a dozen or so natural dyes found widespread use. Undoubtedly, most attempts failed because most natural dyes are not highly stable and occur as components of complex mixtures. School uniforms in the United States followed the traditional use of uniforms established in England and were generally limited to private and parochial schools. One exception was found in government-run boarding schools for Native American children, first established in the late 1800s, where the children, who had been removed from their families, were dressed in military-style uniforms. One important cultural note to keep in mind: both of these terms are completely Eurocentric, meaning that the Western English-speaking historians name the region on the basis of its position relative to Europe. With recent trends in academia to de-Westernize core education, the term Middle East can seem a bit old-fashioned. The one-child policy was a program that was implemented nationwide by the Chinese government in 1980 in order to limit most Chinese families to one child each. The policy was enacted to address the growth rate of China's population, which the government viewed as being too high. Education is an essential element of the global response to climate change. It helps young people understand and address the impact of global warming, encourages changes in their attitudes and behavior, and helps them adapt to climate change-related trends. In place of a capitalist economy, in which individuals compete for profits. Moreover, party leaders established a command economy in which the state controlled property and its bureaucrats determine wages, prices, and production goals. The inefficiency of these economies played a large part in the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. because private ownership of goods would corrupt their owners by encouraging selfishness. Plato argued, the guardians must live as a large family that shares common ownership not only of material goods but also of spouses and children. This revolution, which achieved great gains in economic productivity at the expense of an increasingly miserable working class, encouraged Marx to think that the class struggles that dominated history were leading inevitably to a society in which prosperity would be shared by all through common ownership of the means of production. Probably the oldest known dye is the blue dye indigo, obtained in Europe from the leaves of the dye's wood herb, and in Asia from the indigo plant. Even by modern standards, indigo have very good dyeing properties, and indigo remains a favored dye for denim, although synthetic indigo has replaced the natural material. One of the major factors influencing future home design will be the probable change in climate, with hotter summers, colder winters, and the possibility of floods. Consequently, houses will be built with better insulation and will also need ways of keeping cool in hot weather, whether that's air conditioning or more shading of windows. The problem is that increased immune vigilance has a side effect: allergies. Our speculation is that this is some kind of trade-off. In the past you needed to resist some kind of pathogen, and the trade-off or sacrifice you have to make is increased responsiveness to non-pathogenic allergens. Highly skilled craftsmen with closely guarded secret formulas rendered dyeing a well-protected trade. The formation of different colors by mixing red, blue, and yellow dyes was well known in ancient times, as was the use of metal salts to aid the retention of dyes on the desired material and to vary the resultant colors. For someone working in a low-resource situation, one guiding principle might be that texts should be short enough for the teacher to write on the board, to read out loud as a live listening, or to deliver as a dictation activity. For someone teaching mixed ability groups, it might be that materials are created with plenty of built-in differentiation. Since most dyes were imported from distant sources, transportation delays were likely to slow the production of dyed materials. Dye quality was affected by the whims of nature and the dye maker's skills. In addition, inefficient processes were often required for optimum results. Turkey red dyeing could involve more than 20 steps to produce the desired bright, fast color. A higher proportion of schools located in cities had mandatory uniforms in 2015 to 2016 than schools in suburban, town, and rural areas. Mandatory uniforms were far more prevalent in high-poverty schools than in low-poverty schools because school uniforms emphasize the socio-economic divisions they are supposed to eliminate. Marx acknowledged that capitalism was a historically necessary stage of development that had brought about remarkable scientific and technological changes that greatly increased aggregate wealth by extending humankind's power over nature. As the inventor of alternating current technology, Nikola Tesla played a paramount role in the electricity used to power the entire world. Tesla also worked diligently on a dream of supplying electrical power without wires. Thomas Edison was also instrumental in shaping society today with his inventions. This year, the school plans to use plastic materials to develop eco-bricks and eco-walls for the school garden. If the initiative brings positive results, the school will encourage the production of more such products from recyclable waste. The school also has a strong industry interface program supporting students to get exposure to reputed industries. A useful activity that teachers can be helped to set up to maximize their engagement with the relevance of a piece of research is discussing a study or set of findings with a small group of colleagues. This can be done in person or online, and it can involve immediate colleagues or else a teacher's peers working elsewhere. In capitalist societies, the free market is portrayed as operating efficiently, fairly, and for the benefit of all, while alternative economic arrangements such as socialism are derided or dismissed as false or fanciful. These ideas serve to justify or legitimize the unequal distribution of economic and political power. Advances in the understanding of chemical structure, combined with strong industrial academic interactions and favorable governmental practices, gave a setting well suited for systematic development based on solid scientific foundations. Only a few Swiss firms and one in England survived the strong competition generated by the vigorous activity in the German dye industry. Many people are under the impression that the water which comes out of a plant is clean. This is a common misconception. The function of a plant is to make the water cleaner, but it's not clean enough to drink. It could be used in irrigation. What a plant is trying to do is simply speed up a process that would naturally occur given more time. If you do experience a motorcycle crash, be aware the other driver will most likely blame you for the accident. This includes the road conditions, any skid marks, road signs, construction, and anything else that may have contributed to the accident. Not every accident requires an attorney, but a knowledgeable local attorney can help you make sense of the process. Intangible assets perform a number of distinctive functions in the life of each company. Firstly, they witness the prosperity of the firm in its good name. Such a position allows human resource management to employ professional workers and increase labor productivity. Moreover, intangible assets guarantee future value for the firm. Countries bordering the Mediterranean have built up a solid reputation for sunshine, great tasting food as well as impressive health statistics, featuring some of the lowest rates of heart disease, and increased life expectancy. This has created a lot of attention towards the Mediterranean diet, which is not a typical weight loss diet, but more of a set of habits,